Welcome back to DRS Zone. And look, if you thought the preseason was just about pretty liveries and corporate handshakes.
And everyone pretending they're best friends.
Right, exactly. I need you to wake up right now because the honeymoon is officially over. We are on the track in Bahrain. The stopwatch is running, and it is telling us a brutal, unfiltered truth.
It is the moment every fan waits for, and frankly, every engineer totally breads.
Yeah, the speculation ends, the hype videos are done, we are looking at the raw data, and for some teams out there, it is looking like an absolute crime scene.
The cold, hard reality just hits you right in the face. And this year, man, the reality is hitting harder than usual.
Harder than usual is an understatement. And for one driver, that reality hit like a runaway freight train. We are talking about Carlos Sainz. He has broken his silence in Bahrain. And let me tell you, this is not the PR fluff you are used to hearing.
Not at all.
You know the drill, right?
Yeah.
Usually it is, we are analyzing the data, or the team is optimistic, or we found some positives in the long run.
Classic media training lines.
Exactly. Not this time. Sainz is bringing raw, unfiltered honesty about the state of Williams and, honestly, the terrifying reality of these new regulations.
It is a massive wake-up call. We have to remember the context here because it sets the stage for everything we're about to dig into.
Before we launch into this absolute chaos, I need to make our standard disclaimer. This segment is part of our news coverage of recent F1 events.
Important to note, we are dealing with breaking analysis here straight from the paddock.
So here is the roadmap for this deep dive. We are going to break this down into 3 explosive parts. First, we are unpacking Sainz's brutally honest admission about Williams' lack of pace and why the idea of them being at the top of the midfield is just a total fantasy right now.
It's a harsh reality.
It is. Second, we are tearing apart the new driving mechanics. Listen to me closely. Drivers are downshifting on the straights.
Which is insane.
It is insane. They are terrified of turn 1. We will explain exactly why this is a literal nightmare. And finally, we will look at the rage. His word, not mine. The rage fueling Sainz and his desperate hope for a McLaren-style turnaround.
There's a lot to cover, but the technical details Sainz dropped are absolute gold for understanding why this new era of F1 is going to be so totally unpredictable.
So let's jump straight into the cold shower. Williams in the gap. Sainz did not mince words. He called the winter hard. He explicitly admitted they are not where they need to be.
It is the contrast that really hurts. You think about 2025, right? Expectations were sky high. You finished the season on a high.
They actually tasted champagne. They had those podiums. The trajectory looked so solid.
Exactly. Everyone thought, okay, James Vowles has steered the ship. Sainz coming in. This is the year. You think you have momentum.
The fans were dreaming. I was dreaming.
We all were. But Sainz is saying that the step forward they expected for the start of the season simply didn't happen. They expected a massive leap, and they got a stumble.
And it is not just that they stood still right. It sounds like the target moved away from them.
That is the key insight here. Sainz made a fascinating observation about the field spread. The common wisdom, the stuff the governing body sells you every time they change the rules, is that new regulations bunch the field up.
Right. The whole pitch is, we will make the cars closer and the racing better.
Yeah, but Sainz is saying the exact opposite happened out there. The regulations didn't close the field, they blew it wide open.
He mentioned the top 4 specifically, didn't he?
He did. The top 4 teams from last year didn't just maintain their advantage, they got relatively better. They capitalized on their massive resources.
In the midfield.
Sainz says the midfield is now more midfield. The gap between the haves and the have-nots has widened into an absolute canyon.
That is devastating for a team like Williams, because they really thought this regulation change was their window of opportunity. They thought, clean slate new rules, we can beat the big guys if we just get it right.
And instead, the rules acted like a magnifying glass.
A stress test.
A brutal stress test. Sainz basically admitted that the regulation change exposed every single area where the team is technically lacking. It wasn't a magic bullet that reset the board.
So they realized their tools, their simulation, their production, it just wasn't ready for the complexity of these 2026 cars.
Exactly. They failed the initial exam.
Now, hang on. When you see the timesheets from Bahrain, maybe they look a little decent here and there.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be fooled by that. Because I saw some purple sectors on day 3, and I immediately thought maybe they're sandbagging.
No, do not fall for it. Sainz was very specific about this. This is what we call the improvement illusion.
The improvement illusion. Break that down for us.
So if you compare week 1 of testing to week 2, the car feels better. The times are faster. The grip is there. But Sainz stopped.
Stop.
He says, don't mistake the weather for engineering.
Oh, wow.
Week 1 in Bahrain was a gale. The wind was pushing everyone around there. It was sand on the track. It was a total mess. Week 2 is calm. The car feels better because the air is calm, not necessarily because the car is a rocket ship.
That is such a crucial distinction. It is so easy to drink the Kool-Aid when the lap times drop. But he is saying it is just physics. It is not progress.
He was crystal clear, placing Williams at the top of the midfield right now. He called it impossible to say definitively, but his gut and his data says they simply aren't there.
He literally said, hand on heart, based on the feelings and the times, they are not at the front of that pack.
They might get there eventually, but they are not starting there. They are starting on the back foot, trying to catch a train that has already left the station.
That is a harsh reality check. But what is even crazier to me isn't just that the car is slow, it is how they have to drive these things.
The mechanics of it.
Yes. This is where I really want to get into the technical deep dive, because what I am reading here sounds like a video game glitch. It does not sound like Formula One.
This was the most fascinating part of the entire analysis. The driving dynamics have fundamentally changed.
Sainz mentioned he was surprised when he first drove the car. Not just disappointed, but literally shocked at how slow the cars felt initially.
It echoes 2014, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. The start of the hybrid era.
Exactly. Remember how clumsy the cars looked? They were slower than the V8s initially. They were sliding around with zero grip. Sainz referenced that directly.
He said we need to give it time.
Uh-huh.
Which is fair. By 2016, the cars were flying again.
But right now, we are in that awkward early growth phase. These are heavy, complicated machines.
But the slowness isn't even the weirdest part. It is what they are doing to keep the engine going. Sainz revealed this bizarre technique. He said drivers are downshifting in the middle of the straights.
Okay, let's unpack this because it genuinely sounds insane. Listeners, picture this. You are on the main straight in Bahrain. You are doing 300 kilometers an hour.
Which should be the relaxing part of the lap.
Right. You should be in 8th gear, foot to the floor, resting your left leg, checking your mirrors.
Taking a breath before you hit the braking zone.
Not anymore. These new power units have a massive reliance on the electrical systems and the turbo. Sainz talks about turbo lag. It is significant this year.
So if the RPMs drop too low,
or if the turbo isn't spooled up, you have absolutely no power when you need it.
So they are downshifting while accelerating.
Right.
While at top speed.
Exactly. Imagine you are doing 300. You hit the paddle to drop a gear just to spike the RPMs. You are deliberately over-revving the engine for a split second to keep the turbo spinning and to keep the energy deployment active.
That feels so wrong. It feels like you were trying to blow the engine up.
It is entirely counterintuitive. It is chaotic. It adds a physical action in the middle of the only rest period a driver usually gets. You aren't just steering anymore. You are managing the engine's breathing manually.
That is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
You are wrestling the car down the straight, not just in the corners. And speaking of corners, Sainz dropped a detail about qualifying that actually gave me anxiety.
The variable braking point. This is the stuff nightmares are made of for a racing driver.
Yes. This is the most terrifying thing I've heard yet. Walk us through this, because for a driver, the braking point is religion.
Muscle memory is everything. You see the 100-meter board at turn 1, you hit the block. You do it 1,000 times in the simulator, 100 times in practice. Your body knows exactly when to press the pedal.
You didn't even think about it.
Right. But Sainz says that with these new energy management systems, your arrival speed changes from lap to lap.
How much of a change are we talking about? A fraction of a kilometer.
No, he gave a specific example. On one lap, you might hit the speed trap at 320 kilometers an hour because your battery is at 50%.
Okay.
On the very next lap, because you deployed energy slightly differently or the system regenerated more efficiently, you arrive at 325.
5 kilometers an hour, which, look, to you and me driving to the grocery store 5 kilometers an hour doesn't sound like much.
But in an F1 car, at the absolute limit of adhesion, that is huge. That 5 kilometer an hour difference changes your braking point by meters.
So if I brake at my normal spot, the spot I've practiced all weekend, but I happen to be going 5 kph faster.
You lock up, you miss the apex, or you plow straight into the barriers.
And if you are going slower than you think.
You brake too early, you lose 0.2, and you qualify P15 instead of P10.
And he said this breaks your concentration completely.
How could it not? You can't flow, you can't get into the zone, you are constantly calculating, you're thinking, how much battery do I have? Am I fast this lap or slow this lap? Where do I brake? It turns the driver into a human processor.
He called it a total headache. And that is just the braking. He also brought up the outlap.
Oh man, the outlap is now a full engineering project.
It used to be you just warm up the tires,
Yeah.
maybe weave a bit, get some heat in the brakes.
Now you have strict limits on engine modes. You have to manage the battery's state of charge precisely so you start the timed lap with full deployment.
But you still have to heat the tires.
Right, and Sainz says they have way less flexibility, so you are trying to juggle charging the battery, cooling the engine, heating the tires, and finding a gap in traffic. It is workload overload before the lap even begins.
And the car itself, we're talking less downforce, right?
Less downforce, more sensitive to the wind. And he mentions snaps on recovery.
What does that actually mean, snaps on recovery?
So when the car harvests energy when you lift off the throttle and the electric motor becomes a generator to charge the battery, it creates a braking force at the rear axle.
Okay.
Sainz is suggesting that this kick-in is aggressive. It snaps. So the rear of the car might become suddenly unstable just because you lifted your foot.
It sounds like they're driving monsters. Unpredictable, temperamental monsters that actively want to throw you off the track.
It is a total beast. And that brings us perfectly to the human element. You have a driver like Carlos Sainz at the absolute peak of his career strapped into this confused machine.
Let's talk about the psychology here. Because Sainz isn't a rookie who's just happy to be on the grid. He is a race winner. He left Ferrari, he chose Williams, or, well, the market kind of dictated it, but he committed to the project.
He bought into the vision James Vowles sold him.
He fully committed.
Yeah.
And he used a very specific word to describe his emotion right now, rabia. It translates to rage or anger, but in a deeply competitive sense. It is frustration born from ambition.
He says there was so much ambition in the team, so much optimism, and to show up and find out you have taken a massive step backward, that hurts.
He really emphasized that it is not sadness. He is not sitting in the motorhome crying about it. It is fury. He wants to fix it. He wants to tear the car apart and rebuild it.
And that is exactly where the McLaren blueprint comes in. This is his lifeline right now. This is the only thing keeping the morale alive in that garage.
He was very specific about this timeline, wasn't he?
He was. He recited it like a mantra. He looks at McLaren. They were on the up from 2019 to 2021. Then in 2022 and 2023, boom.
And it crashed straight to the back of the grid.
It looked completely over. Norris was miserable. Piastri looked like he made a terrible mistake joining them.
And then?
And then the recovery. By 2024, in the timeline Sainz is referencing, they became champions. They turned it completely around. He is holding tightly onto that. He is saying, I don't care where we start. I care about the slope of the recovery.
So his entire season, his entire mindset is shifting from let's win now to let's win the development war.
Precisely. He is looking for who has the steeper curve. Can Williams outdevelop the top teams? Can they fix these glaring flaws faster than the others?
He says the first third of the season is going to be painful. He was very honest about that.
Painful is a word you really don't want to hear before the first light even goes out. It sounds like he is preparing the fans for some brutal Q1 exits.
He absolutely is. He is managing expectations aggressively, but he finished with a really confident thought. He said, I've done harder things in the wind all my life.
That is a bar. I've done harder things in the wind.
It is a reminder that he is a veteran. He has been through the midfield trenches with Toro Rosso, with Renault, when they were really struggling.
He has, but this is a totally different kind of trench warfare. The cars are technically fragile in terms of handling. The engine rules are creating this chaotic driving style, and the gap to the front is just way bigger than they thought.
Sainz is essentially betting his sanity on a development war that hasn't even started yet.
But let's play devil's advocate here for a second. McLaren had a brand new wind tunnel. McLaren had huge, massive resources. Does Williams have the ammo to fight that kind of war?
That is the million-dollar question. Williams has been upgrading their infrastructure, but are they at McLaren's level? Sainz is betting his career that they are.
But if they can't bring upgrades fast enough, that rage is going to turn into despair very, very quickly.
It really puts into perspective what we are about to see this weekend. We focus so much on the lap time, but listening to Sainz, I am thinking entirely about the driver's brains.
It is mental endurance now. It is not just physical anymore.
Imagine heading into turn 1 on Sunday. You have got 19 other cars around you. The dirty air is hitting your front wing. You are trying to downshift on the straight just to keep your turbo alive.
And you don't even know if you'll hit the braking zone at 320 or 325.
Exactly. And if you guess wrong, you lock up and you take out 3 cars.
The chaos potential is completely off the charts. If a driver of Sainz's caliber, a guy known for being the smooth operator, the highly cerebral driver, if he is struggling to predict a breaking point because the engine is confused,
What is that first lap going to look like?
it is going to be pure carnage or absolute extreme caution. There is no middle ground. And for Williams, the real race isn't even on Sunday. The race is back at the factory. They have to solve this puzzle before the season completely slips away.
Sainz says we need to wait for the development curve. But we all know F1. Patience is expensive. In this sport, patience usually gets you fired or forgotten.
It is a high-stakes gamble. He is asking the fans and the team to trust that they can pull a McLaren. But history is littered with teams that promised a magical turnaround and just never delivered.
That is the question of the year. So here's my question to you listening right now. Sainz is preaching patience. He is pointing to the McLaren turnaround as proof it can be done. Do you buy it?
Do you trust Williams to pull off that kind of engineering miracle?
Or is this the beginning of a long, painful, rage-filled era for Carlos Sainz?
It is the debate that is going to define the next 6 months.
Don't just sit there and listen. Get involved in the debate. We want to hear your theories. Are the new regs a disaster or a genius challenge? Follow DRS Zone right now on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Comment, like, and tell us if you think Sainz can turn this ship around.
We are just getting started, and this season is going to be wild.
We will see you at the checkered flag. This is DRS Zone signing off.